to Live with Marcy and Amy. And this segment, after our panel of experts, is Connect the Dots. This is where we connect the dots. This is where we answer your questions. This is where we hit the aha moments and go into more detail, because as we listen to our audience, you guys have been wanting your questions answered. You've been asking us questions. So we really want to take this opportunity to carve out this time in our monthly events so that we can connect the dots, go over the highlights and the aha moments for everybody. Marcy, do you have something to jump in with that?
Yeah. So going forward, I mean, Amy's and my vision is really to, again, to support you in every way possible. And so we have a number of ways where we have put together a very special program to be able to do that. And we'd like you to watch your emails for those details. It's, so funny, but I think something that you've come to recognize about Amy and I is we just can't help ourselves. We just want to give you whatever we can. And we want you to know that we will do everything possible to, of course, bring you speakers. I mean, look at the caliber of the speakers that we've brought to you today, and we'll continue to do that. And so please watch your emails. We have something really very special planned. And we're putting together all the final details now, and then we'll be ready to share it with you. So thank you so much for being here. And again, we're going to, invite our speakers to leave if you want. And if you would like to stay, you're more than welcome. But Amy and I are going to jump into this next segment. So thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right. This is where we connect the dots. And I think this is so important. And what the connection is, can I jump in, or you have something to say?
No, Marcy? You go for it. Absolutely.
I don't know if you out there, the audience, is like, you can start seeing the roadmap into really seizing the day. Like from how important putting yourself first and really self-discovery. And I hope that like brought you steps. So like the first step, which is like slow down, get your value, know your top 5 values, get clear on those. And then what would you say is next, Marcy, from that, do you believe?
I think once, you're going into that quiet space, I think what's really important is that you understand how powerful it is just to do that. You are sending a signal to the universe that you are stepping into your partnership. And that's something that we often forget. We are actually in partnership with the universe because we are the creative force. So when you step into your silence, come into your alignment, you're saying to the universe, okay, I've had it out there. All right, show me. What should I do? How should I do this? And oh my God, there's nothing more powerful than that, because what you're doing in that very moment, and I'm getting God bumps as I'm saying this, what you're doing in that very moment is that you're stepping outside of your humanness and stepping into your divinity. There's nothing more powerful than that. Your divinity is your ability to create something new. So from my perspective, that's what is happening with that first step. And then you've actually stepped into the second step. Mm-hmm. How about you, Ames? What's next?
Yeah. So for me, it's like, I was talking about this the other day. You become a producer and not a consumer. Mm. It is a shift. And I'm reading, that's where we have to think of ourselves like, how much am I taking in and allowing in my life? Because that is not allowing the space to start producing something, creating something. And that when we actually take that time and stop allowing outside influences to define you, is where you really get it's such an interesting space, because we don't really take the time to do it. And when we're doing it, we're even distracted by, but like putting all that away and like really just sitting down and giving you that sacred space and knowing that just because you write something down doesn't mean that it's set in stone. Oftentimes, I don't know, sometimes I sit down, I don't even want to write the first sentence because I think for some reason for me that's like true. Like, or picking up that paintbrush and starting that project, or picking up that pen and start writing that book. There is that, like, there is that feeling. I don't know about you, what that feeling is, Marcy, but oftentimes I think it's good to look at that in that space how do we create that freedom in that space to actually start taking the steps.
Well, for me, and this was really one of the highlights of the program, I think also, Amy, was how you were discussing how to create once you know your values and why it's so important to define your values first. And so I want to really encourage everyone to do that. And what's interesting is that Amy and I both, our number one values are freedom. And I think you can see that in the way that our conversations flow. So when you know what your values are and you're constantly asking yourself, well, how is the life that I'm living in alignment with my values? Again, we're talking magic. Magic happens with vibrational alignment. So this is how you actually also get to experience how supported you are by the universe, because it answers every single particle of energy that you put out there. And the more that you're putting out that's aligned with your values, the more your life will reflect this incredible life that you've created where your values are free to be expressed. So that to me was a real highlight of this conversation. And we heard it reinforced by both Pia and Crystal as they were talking about the importance of exercising these certain strengths, because it's all about coming back into alignment. Your strength is what brings you back into alignment. Your values are what brings you back into alignment. And the huge difference between looking at your life like, oh my God, what did I do to deserve this? And from what you heard from each of us, is like, oh my God, ooh, what can I do to change this? Oh, I see that. I hear that. How do I go about creating a shift? So again, for me, it comes through the heart. I'm creating heart shifts all the time. Mm-hmm. And how powerful we become when we understand there is nothing that's being done to us or at us. It's all for us, and it's filled with opportunity and invitations.
Yeah,
how about you, Ames?
Yeah, what came out for me is when you define your values also, you start knowing what to say no to. You start clearing out the clutter so that you can actually create the vision. I do vision work, like to create the vision. If you are cluttered with crap you don't want to do, and you need to be saying no to, it's hard to create a vision that's really aligned with your values. So the vision is values. Your vision and values are going to align. But getting clear on your values is also, I believe, the really important step is that gives you a guide what to say no to. Just like the vision is a guide to say, no, that doesn't fit into my vision. So that a vision is very helpful to say, how many of you have gone to work and there's like, your rules for work. You have a half-hour break. You got this, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. We need to do that for ourselves in our vision. So we understand, like, no, that doesn't fit into my vision. If I want to be in a loving relationship, dating a guy who is not being in integrity is not part of my vision. So I have to say no to him. And the values I want in my man does not align with those values you're showing me. So I have to say no to you too.
So for me, it's all about the pivot. All right. So like Amy said, we're defining this. And I spoke about this earlier when I said, really being willing to see things as they truly are and not how you want them to be. This is where we are sort of diagnosing ourselves. Where am I now? Is it in alignment with where and how I want to live my life? So what I do is I immediately, and this of course has come now from many years of practice, I start to ask myself, what can I say yes to? And I start making a yes list.
Mm.
And then here's something so magical. You start to see how the universe brings in these things that align with that. Oh, I want to say yes to this. I want to say yes to this. I want to say yes to this. And all of a sudden it's bam, bam, bam. Some things might fall a little short. And I'll say, I guess I wasn't saying yes loud enough. And then I have to look at, where have I let myself down? Where was I not as committed as I needed to be in that I wanted to create? So we start to understand, oh my God, how powerful we are. And that really is what develops that inner strength to really go forward. And Amy, one of the things that I wanted to bring up about our discussion today was our resiliency. And each of us touched on it in a different way, which I think is absolutely so beneficial for us. But resiliency can only come from this practice, from strengthening all of these muscles, because resiliency is the reward of you giving up your frigidity. You have given up something that you thought, like Amy said, was written in stone. And rather than putting all of your efforts to prove yourself right, you have allowed yourself to become more flexible, to let go of that, and you have built this resiliency. Now, I want to bring this home to what's happening in the world around us right now. We are being bombarded, right, with demands of change. Can be very frightening, especially if you didn't know it was coming, right? Especially if you didn't have a greater awareness of what was happening. The more rigid we are, the more, line in the sand we are, the less resiliency we will have. So those of you in my inner circle, in my 2020 hindsight to foresight group, I see some of you here. Thank you, Paula, for being here. We've been spending our last couple of months talking about boundaries and developing a new understanding and appreciation for them, because we must become resilient. We have got to be able to bounce back no matter what. Even if somebody has tried to crush us, we must bounce back, because that's not just the human spirit. It's your divine spirit. Your divine spirit is uncrushable. Uncrushable. That's your inner strength. I loved how we all spoke about that.
Yeah. And I want to comment also, just to make before we wrap this up, is that every time that we say yes to something when we should say no, we're actually confusing the universe. We are confusing them, because we're asking for this vision, for this new thing, And yet we're saying yes to things that we should be saying no to. And the universe is saying, which is it? What state of being do you want to be in? Do you want to be in the old state or you want to be in the new state? And the more that we're clear on that, it's not only us making a decision, it's really the universe has its eyes on us, where it's waiting for us. So we must be making those decisions that are aligned with our desires. This is our responsibility so that the universe has clarity on how to guide us, how to support us. So it's not only like it's hurting us emotionally, physically, mentally, it's also holding us back every time we say yes to something we should say no to. Mm-hmm. And believe me, it's enticing over there. It's enticing because we know it. It's enticing because we know how it's going to end up. Right? There's no uncertainty. Sure. There's no uncertainty over there.
Yeah.
But this new state of who we're going to be, there is that level of uncertainty, responsibility, upgrade, right? This idea of taking ourselves and embodying that vision and who we want to be and actually expressing it. So I always say to everyone, really think about that. It's kind of, I've been sneaky too. Okay. Sneaky over here, but I know that I'm confusing the universe with those types of choices at this point in my life. And it's time to stop and say, no, thank you.
So beautifully said, Amy. Thanks so much for that. So if I were to wrap this up from my perspective, I would say, take a look at the things that you have this belief around being written in stone, that you have to be loyal to it, or what will people think, or what will you think, right? Because when we believe that anything is written in stone, there is a part of us that actually fights in order to be loyal to that, to stay committed to it so we can prove ourselves right. See, I was right all along. But this is not the true you speaking. That's the ego speaking. That's the ego that wants you to be right about whatever you've written in stone. The universe, your higher self, your divine self, writes nothing in stone. Okay? Because it is a constant flowing, giving and receiving energy. Everything continues to move forward. Nothing is stagnant. And you're meant to change your beliefs as you evolve. If I still had the same beliefs, for instance, as I did when I was 20 years old, well, I can't even begin to tell you how unhappy I would be. Okay, like, honestly, I'm not certain that I would even be alive. Because even during the time when I chose to make this very pivotal change in my life, I was already feeling like my spirit was dying. I was so far away from it, and it wreaked like physical havoc in my body. And mentally, I was having panic attacks, and all sorts of things were happening that was evidence that I was breaking down. And so take a look. What are those beliefs that you have about things that you think need to be written in stone? Have a good look. And like Amy said, have a look and then go from there. Nothing's meant to be there.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I would say that, just get back to you. Really just decide that that's important and get back to you and see what comes out. Wow. See what's been waiting for you, because it's been waiting for you, right? She's in there. She's waiting for you. That's right. She's the one knocking at your door all the time, like not leaving you alone.
That's right.
She wakes you up. Is today going to be the day?
Yeah.
And how many years has she been knocking?
Yeah.
Today's your day.
So seize the day.
Seize the day. So this is our this is our Connect the Dots segment. This is what we will be going into after our live segment with our experts, because we do believe that it brings us closer to you. And as we go into next month's live, really give us your questions, really put that at our feet, because we are more than willing, and our experts are more than willing to really pick that up for you and help support you with that.
That's right. So with that, I guess we'll say goodbye to everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We love you so very much and are so grateful that you've given us your time, your energy, your focus, and of course, those big, beautiful hearts. And we're just so thrilled to have had this time with you, and this time also where I think, like you said, Amy, where we can just feel more connected also. This is for us as well. Yeah.
Yes.
We all need a place for our love to land.
Yeah.
And you are the perfect recipients.
All right,
So
you guys. Candace.
Thank you so much. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. Paula, Candace, Suvi, Gordon, Christine.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Hearts.
Love you.
Love you.
Mwah. So much love to you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.